Mic check, mic check. This is the first time I'm trying a vertical screen here. I'm not even sure if the audio is coming through properly, but I guess we're gonna have to keep going through it. All right, thank you, Miss Cantrell. Sound good. All right, well, that being said, we're gonna try a new thing today. A really brief midday mini pod. I came across some. It's kind of old information, but it's new again. If you're caught up in the goldfish news cycle, the goldfish brain news cycle. But anyway, apparently only men pay taxes. I came across apparently there was a study put out, and I should have probably looked at it a little bit closer, but I was busy and I didn't have the time to do my homework like I should. But apparently there was a study put out recently that essentially confirmed what has been an old MGTOW talking point. And it's a talking point that really doesn't get brought up anymore in the modern gender war that we have going on live panels, but it really is a silver bullet of a talking point when you think about the grand scheme of it all, and especially the idea that as a group, as a class, women are constantly on the hunt for more rights and demanding more and more. And it just leaves men wondering, like, well, what more do you need? Like, how much more equal can we make you? You're already low-key superior. And now this news about the male taxpayer pretty much puts a nail in the coffin of that whole conversation. Now, it pretty much breaks down like this. What feminists have been saying as a kind of accusation against men, that men earn all the money, right? There is a gender pay gap. 100% true. And not only is there a gender pay gap, you goddamn right there's a gender pay gap, because most of y'all bras don't want to do what we do every day. The fact that being a man is a thankless existence like 85% of the time for all of us, that would emotionally crush most of the women. And the gender pay gap is not evidence of some type of conspiracy against women. It is evidence of men's natural desire to produce and to achieve and to control and to acquire. We have to do all of these things. Yes, men do all the tough work. And not only that, men do all the dying for the most part. Statistically speaking, female workplace deaths are equivalent to zero. Unless you're going to count like the sex industry and some prostitutes that popped up in a river in Houston or something like that, generally speaking, women do not suffer workplace fatality. It's statistically equivalent to zero. Now, the reality is, though, that men, we earn all this money, which is the heart and soul, the money that men earn, and the taxes that get siphoned off of the money that men earn is the heart and soul of the American ecosystem, right? Just our entire life's blood as a country is dependent upon millions and millions of men who are essentially faceless and nameless, right? There's millions of just guys, right? And they get up and go to work every day, and they come home, and the government takes a little piece of their money. And this is the kicker. And this is one of the reasons why, like, CBS News had a long 30-minute piece out the other day about what's wrong with young men And you know, they like to come at these things from the very liberal angle. And I would venture one other addition to the conversation about what's wrong with young men or what's wrong with men in general nowadays. As a group, men are becoming more and more acutely aware of the fact that our money is effectively being taken from us and given to people who in one way or another hate us, right? Whether it's like on the kind of minuscule end where there's like giving away money to just the homeless and all those kind of programs, poverty stuff, like those people don't give a shit about me. Those people are break into my house, they'll steal my car or something like that, right? Or we got to give it to women and children. Like, think about the indignity of as a man, when you just have a divorce and it's nasty and brutal, and now you gotta like pay for some woman to live in your house, and you just know in the back of your mind you're paying for her to have the right to bang other guys in your house, right? It's a crazy indignity, and that's a personal one-to-one type of indignity. It's a whole other level of indignity when you think about on the group level. A lot of government money gets taken away from men and spent on women with the express purpose of teaching women that men are bad. Like, as a father, right? You realize, like, when you send your daughters off to the public school system, in a lot of ways, they're learning to distrust you as their father and to put their faith and their trust anywhere else but you as their father. And so now you're battling effectively, you're battling the government for sovereignty over your own children. And David, yeah, we do finance our own destruction, but it's at gunpoint, though. It's not as if we're actually doing this willfully and with glee and love and joy in our hearts. Like, we are being held down at gunpoint. And so the idea that men pay all of the taxes is incredibly true when you really look at the breakdown of it. Like, right, for a fact, Jesse Lee, paying them to not need a man. So, like, even if you get away from just the pure policy expenditures, just the actual dollar for dollar expenditure, here's one thing that you really can't escape. And this is a little bit more meta, but like I said, the public school system, the university, the college system, the police force, right? Actually, the actual police department. Years ago, they adopted for the purpose of, you know, women's protection and fighting domestic violence, they adopted what was called the Duluth model. So the Duluth model basically means that as a man, because you're generally bigger, stronger, faster, smarter, like the Duluth model assumes that every guy is the $1 million man compared to any woman. Like, every time I walk in the door, you hear that. Like, every time I raise my hand, you hear. Like, they assume that every man is the $1 million man compared to every woman. And so whenever the police show up to a domestic violence call, you have the government that you pay for come to your door with the automatic assumption that you did or will do something to this woman, and therefore we need to remove you from the situation because you got like superpowers and shit. You can just knock her block clean off. And what are we going to do after that? So you got to take a walk, right? And that is your government that you as a man have to pay for. And then they wonder what's up with men lately, why men are feeling some type of way lately. You know, the knowledge of it all is a bit much to think about when you really get into it, right? And now let's get into some of the actual like expenditures of it all. Now, when I started looking at some of those numbers briefly, And I ran this through Grok, and what some of what I got from a general AI overlay was that when it comes to things like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, programs that generally go for the elderly and the infirm, it's almost 50-50. Like women get like roughly 55, maybe sometimes closer to 60% when it comes to those programs, right? Now, when it comes to programs that we know just by practicality, women are going to get priority in these programs, men are getting blown out of the water. So when you get over to things like childcare, WIC, Section 8, like housing assistance, when it comes to just welfare in general. So that's like food stamps plus cash assistance, right? Women get the overwhelming vast majority, like literally the lion's share of it. And so when it comes to like that level of discretionary spending, what you actually do have is a situation where no matter what feminism tells you about how awful men are, how much men hold women back, and how men are just bad, just terrible, just negative, just all the bad things, right? The simple fact is, this has been and continues to be the best time in all of female history. Right now, to be an adult American woman, 99% of the time, you are doing historically, like infinitely better than all women who have ever womaned in the history of womanhood. And that is made possible by the ridiculous imbalance that men provide to the actual state of affairs. Not only when it comes to, men do the things, like we build the things, we drive to and fro, we carry the things back and forth, we fix the things, we lift things up and we put them down. This whole world is built on that. So not only is there the physical side of the actual doing of things, but when we get paid to do these things, the government takes a little bit of that money and it gives it to the women, who now get to be as free and as independent as they've ever been. You couldn't be a freer, more independent woman than you are right now here in America. And you know what they do with that independence? You know what they do with that freedom? They tell you how you ain't shit. They tell you how all you've ever done is hold them back. My favorite example of that, just from a pop culture reference, was a long time ago. You know, it's so weird when you listen to songs, it's a sign of getting old that you go back and you hear the songs differently now. Like, I remember being a kid and hearing Madonna sing Papa Don't Preach, and being a stupid kid, you grew up with MTV, and it's just, it's pop music, so you're just popping along with the pop music. Papa Don't Preach, you're goofy just like all that goofy shit is. And then one day I realized, maybe it's because I had a daughter of my own, and I realized the nerve of this little thought bitch. The hell you mean Papa Don't Preach? What the hell you mean you... And then Madonna was like playing the little Italian girl in Queens, like, so you got knocked up by a black guy, right? You don't want me to preach, but you out here got some Mooley's baby, right? Like, as I became an adult and I was fully aware of the realities of the world, that song was so trash to me. I'm like, you are such a disappointment. I see why your daddy hates you. You took all that, you just spit it in his face, and then had the nerve to make a song about it. Oh my God, we got misguided so harsh. But that was the reality of it, though. Like, women took this ultimate golden opportunity. Oh, there was Staten Island Italians. Well, that's where all the Brooklyn and Queens Italians wound up anyway. They moved to Staten Island. Staten Island is like the last refuge of New York City Italians and shit. After Staten Island, y'all got to meet up in Jersey somewhere. You're all going to be Sopranos in a couple of years, Grant. Hope you know that. But no, that was kind of what was done. with their freedom and the generosity that men have given them. They really did turn around and act like niggas never did shit for them. Why am I vertical streaming? Cause it's the new wave, Andre. I gotta get in on the new wave. I hear this is where all the teenagers are. I hear vertical streaming is where all the youth is. You said not a, oh God. We gotta put up a firewall. Don't worry. My message doesn't attract that type of crowd anyway. But not like, it really is amazing when you think about the reality of it. How men actually do make all the stuff, carry all the stuff, build all the stuff, repair all the stuff. Women play very, very minuscule roles in the actual hard, dirty work that has to get done to make your society function. You know, there's a joke going around, especially in the right wing. The modern female workplace is mostly daycare for women. It's like adult daycare for women. And the number one example of that whole thing being true about adult daycare is when girls do the TikTok videos. This is a day in the life of a Netflix ad exec. Like, I just saw that. This is a literal video I just saw. And it was a black girl too, right? And they just drink matchas, like whatever that new green shit is y'all got. They drink matcha. They press buttons on their little laptop. They take pictures. They pretend to have meetings about important things. Like literally an 8-hour workday, an hour and a half maybe, that she herself describes as actual work. And then it's an Uber back to her downtown condo that she's renting out for like $4,500 a month. It really is like, and the right wing interpretation of it all, like the extreme conspiracy brained interpretation of it all, is, and it's relatively true if you ask me. This is all a giant scheme to bribe women into not reproducing at a significant level. Like, if you really think about it, it is all a very clever ploy to suppress the birth rate. But women don't necessarily care about babies, so if you give them money and fancy handbags and colorful parties to go to, you give them the status. So, you know, what's the new word now? Boss bitch. Like, you give them boss bitch status. They forget that they ever wanted a baby until it's too late to have one. And I think that's really the heart of the so-called birth crisis, the population crisis or whatever. And then low key, I just saw your boy, what's his name from We Need to Talk. He just did a video with the Manosphere Therapist guy. And the title of their video is Women Are Lonely. Because it is very true. It's a cliche, but it's true. Your job's not going to be happy to see you when you get home at night. Your degrees aren't going to keep the bed warm for you. But you got all this money that a man would have used to start a family and keep the bed warm and, you know, fix the roof and all that stuff. You got family money, but you don't have the family. And now everybody's upset about this thing. It's weird how that happened. You know, the other day I was questioning the very concept, like, you know, why do they even need money? Like, I get it, you know, you got to buy girl stuff. You got to buy all that stuff, you know, the pads and the thing you stick up there and all that. You got all the colorful lotions and the perfumes and, you know. butterflies frozen in a jar that you just keep on your desk because it's pretty. You know, girls got to buy all the girl stuff. I get that part of having money, but beyond that, why do they actually need money? Like, I can tell you why I need money. I can itemize my life down to the minute and the dollar, right? Which is ironically something I realized about modern women. Modern single unmarried women effectively become men in that same regard because they don't have husbands, because they don't have the family to fall back in. They don't have the family networks anymore to fall back into like women used to have, where it's not just you and your husband, but you have sisters and he has sisters and you have cousins and neighbors and girlfriends and all that. Even that is drying up because they have too much money. And now women are effectively becoming like disposable men now, where you have a job and you get up and you go to work every day, but almost nobody gives a fuck about you. And I don't even say that to be like cruel or evil or hostile or anything, but I can see the shit. I swear to God, I can see it now. It's just in the air. A lot of a lot of women beyond a certain age have that kind of sadness of being a man. And it's not even a sadness, but they are effectively men. And a sadness comes along with that that doesn't quite belong on women. Diet men. Interesting thought. Diet men. But yeah, I'm just sort of thinking this whole thing out, like, because years and years and years ago, the manosphere already laid out the argumentation of it all. We didn't need a Harvard level study to tell us what was all painfully obvious, like men give and women receive. That remains true even at a governmental level. But what does all that mean in the grand scheme of things, right? What it means is that idiom is actually true. You know, men sacrifice family for happiness. No, men sacrifice their own happiness for the sake of family, and women will sacrifice their family for the sake of their own happiness. And I think what's happening is that is now become true on a broad level, on a policy level, on a national, on a cultural level. That is kind of the explanation for the depressed birth rates, because on a mass scale, we effectively subsidize women across the board. And you don't even have to like get married and divorced to even get to it now. That's why I haven't really been well, for the last couple of weeks or months now, when I talk about this kind of thing, I don't even necessarily like to make it too personal. Like, it's not about any one person in particular. But I will say it's never been romantic. And I keep calling dudes too romantic, right? And some of the evidence of that is that, like, when you look at Kentucky, I keep seeing people talk about this Kentucky divorce law situation. And honestly, the whole argument, the conversation about men, women, and taxes that I just laid out for you, the same revelation comes with the Kentucky divorce law thing, which is this, right? Divorces have dropped by 25% because men get automatic 50-50 custody, which means that as a woman, you're no longer guaranteed an automatic windfall. A lot of women wind up not getting any money at all in the divorce in terms of child support. You might get alimony, but even then, you probably wind up with zero, depending on how much she earns, right? It kind of gives a lot of truth to the idea that women were not ever motivated by what men would consider love or romance or compassion even. A lot of women were purely motivated by money and power. You know, the power to do whatever she wanted and the money that would come if she pulled it off. And on a grander scale, you could look at this tax policy situation and you can see the same revelation working itself out between men and women. That's what a lot of this red pill stuff, this MGTOW stuff has all kind of been about. Men realizing that once women have acquired a certain amount of like money and freedoms or whatever you want to call it, it kind of destroys the very idea of romantic love between one side or the other. Like when dudes go through a divorce and now it's just about money and whatever I can take from you, it really does raise the question, like, if we were married for 20 years and you're going to go through all of this now, like, did you ever love me? Was it all just you were just playing along until you felt the right moment and now bam, right? Like it does kind of kill that blue pill reality or falsehood. It's a blue pill delusion that men have had that women shared romantic notions that men did. Logan says love died back in the early 2000s. It died somewhere along the way. I might agree with you. I don't know. Maybe it died in the 80s. I don't know. Maybe love died in a drug shootout in front of a crack house or something. I don't know. But love died a long time ago. You've abandoned me. Love don't live here anymore. Remember that shit? How old is that song? Just a vacancy. Love don't live here anymore. I say love died when we got Instagram. I don't think Instagram is what killed love. I think the modern social media isn't what killed love. Love was already kind of dying. It was already about sex and hedonism and fun and all that. It's not like people were out there family planning and shit before Instagram. I think Instagram was one of the last scales to fall off men's eyes, right? And not just Instagram, but like the internet. This wave of the video sharing social media era that kind of started out with YouTube. Love was already dead, but it took modern social media for men to really look at it up close. Like it's one thing for someone to tell you that, there's a dead mouse somewhere in this house. Like it must be in the wall somewhere and you can kind of smell it. But you're like, I don't know, maybe I dropped a piece of cheese or something. Maybe there's a hot dog. Maybe there's a hamburger that fell behind the couch. You don't want to believe there's a dead mouse in the wall, right? But then you open up the wall and you see there's like a whole nest of dead mice. Just it's like 8 of them just dead in there, stink. Like it's one thing to hear about it. It's another thing to have actual confirmation, right? And so what I think has happened is that like with the rise of this whole online space and the MGTOW stuff and whatnot, the black man's version of MGTOW, which is SYSBM, even the incels they got their role in this too. Men have just kind of had that last scale revealed from their eyes, and it's like I can see clearly now the rain is gone. And I can see all these thought bitches in my way. That's really how I see this whole thing. Like the internet has kind of revealed, like even like talking about the money thing and the taxes, like how else could you have shared some information like that so quickly, so like succinctly? Like we didn't even have memes back in the day. Imagine this like 1999 and you walk into the barbershop with like a meme. Like, how do you share that? You're gonna take a picture out of your wallet and show it to everybody? Like, the technology just wasn't there. But now everything is happening nonstop, 24/7, and it's in your pocket, it's in your ear. The conversation has moved ahead by decades in the last 10 years. Like, we've had 25, 30 years worth of conversation in the last 10 years. And so it's all kind of led up to, this social dysfunction that, everybody's kind of working through right now. And we need this moment, though. We need this moment, this sort of truth. Everybody becoming aware of the same truth at the same time. Like, the feminist universe was kind of dominating everything up till recently. And now, so like with the Kentucky law, with the 50-50 custody, in the next couple of years, probably half the country is going to move in that direction. As time goes on and as more and more people take note of the drop in like the divorce rates, and I promise other positive measures are going to come out of that as well. Like, people are going to start to take note of other things. Other states rather are going to follow in those footsteps, and now they're going to start to limit at least that one particular area of action. I say New York and California will be the last to do 50-50. Well, California will definitely be the last. New York, I don't know. Because New York isn't like California. California has a lot of blue, and then they have like red farmland, smaller towns, little racist enclaves and shit like that. Whereas like New York, almost the entirety of upper New York is red. Like, once you get away from the big city, once you get outside of New York City or even Buffalo, lots and lots and lots of white people up there. So I don't know about New York State, but California definitely will be the last to fall in that. But and then not only that, but you start to think about, like, I talked about this the other day, how, well, I raised the question, are women pushing young men to the right wing? More and more people are going to start to go to these college campuses, right? I just saw Dom Luker on Twitter. He posted up, I guess he got a YouTube video about it. He's going to put together his group of black conservatives, and they're going to start going to HBCUs now. The wave is unstoppable. Right now, we're at the, have you ever watched like a tidal wave video where like they have an earthquake? I think you saw a video of this like 10 years ago, maybe, in Indonesia. They had an earthquake out in the ocean or something. And at first, the water just pulled back. Yeah, I'm about to end this. Just got a phone call. Gotta go. But at first, the water just pulled back. And then eventually the water all gathered up, and then it hit the land, and it was like an unstoppable wall of water. That is exactly what's coming. An unstoppable wall of angry young men who are mad that they've been forced to finance all the women that hate them. But anyway, it's been fun. Hit that like button on your way out. Throw $1 in the hat. We doing this on the vertical thing, so I don't even have access to none of the features and buttons and all of that. But we had to try something new today, so I'm going to get up out of here. You guys, thank you so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. We got to try this new vertical thing here. We're coming at them from all the angles now, man. But you guys take care. We are out of here.